Go ahead.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Social Media Breakfast of Houston. We are so glad that you're joining us today or watching it in a replay. We're going to be talking today about Web3, which is like, I don't know, very overwhelming to me when people first started talking about it.
Scared of it.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Have you turned on your pack?
You got to turn on your
I
pack.
probably sat on it and turned it off.
Oh,
Yeah, you're on.
Am I?
No, you just turned your back off.
just got to be patient.
Am I on now?
Yeah, there we go. Yay. Okay, so now you'll be able to hear Jennifer. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to let people know who you are. I think a lot of people do, but Jennifer Tejada is going to be with me here today. She's actually the co-founder of Social Media Breakfast of Houston. She helped us launch so many years ago.
Long time ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah.
When we were children.
Yeah, we were just being
12.
Yeah, 13.
I was 13. Eating pizza at California Pizza Kitchen and deciding
That's what we were doing.
We
were
did.
really doing that.
We met at California Pizza Kitchen and we decided that this needed to exist. And so really cool. Anyway, so she's back in town. And so I'm really happy that she's here. So you'll be seeing a lot more of her. She sometimes tries to hide. But
I'm behind the scenes a lot.
Yeah, but I'm going to pull her in. But she is she's been through a lot of things. She's got a lot of technical knowledge. And I want you guys to meet her and understand. But we're going to talk today about Web3 and what it means for marketers and how we can use this in our businesses and also what the pitfalls are. We're going to go through all of that.
Yeah, let's talk about all of it. And this is just the start because we're going to be talking about this for a while. It's the beginning of Web3. Like we're really early on in it. And so marketers really need to know. They need to understand and get involved.
Yeah, they do. And tell them a little bit why, because tell them about so we've been around for a while. We may be a little bit
we're a little bit grandmas. But we were there at the beginning of Web 2.0 when people were really afraid of it, when people didn't want Facebook accounts and they hated Twitter, like full circle, but it was a scary time.
It was.
Web 1 was all they knew. It was a read-only web experience, and being on social media sounded like a crazy thing to people back then. And so
we lost it.
We can still hear you, but we lost.
We lost the camera feed.
Oh,
Trouble. Oh, so we might actually be here now. Hello. So, we might just. Okay, so we're gonna do this for a minute.
We'll do it this way.
I don't know why we lost our camera, but anyway, so keep talking.
Yeah. So back in the olden days when Web 2 was just coming around, Cammie and I were really excited about the possibilities and wanted to learn and explore, and so we really started to dig in there and teach people and learn for ourselves, teach people while we were learning at the same time. And I think that that's a really great way to learn anything, is to dive in and not feel afraid that you don't know everything.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I'm like a pro at that, as you can see by this. So, we do that. So, you learn, you iterate, you and then you teach what you learn. And as you teach what you learn, you can actually cement it in your own mind too. So I really do feel like, as a group, we need to move forward in this. And I think there's a lot of fear right now around Web3 because of the issues around cryptocurrencies. And I mean, all you hear on the news is like this cryptocurrency is failing and that cryptocurrency is failing. And what's this NFT? And then you hear weird things like, some guy making an Oculus headset that will actually kill you. It's actually true. He made it. I mean, like, it's weird. And so it's like, it feels really weird.
Yeah. But if you think back to the beginning of Web 2, that stuff sounded super weird too. It really did. Like, who would imagine that I would be dancing with my kids on an app for 30 seconds and that would be a thing that everybody does? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And it was weird. I mean, it felt weird at the time, especially let's go to the business part of it. You're talking about the personal part.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting with my clients, and I was one of a very well-known theme park, and I was doing their internal newsletter. And I kept saying, we should do something on social media. And they're like, no, that's like, really, no, we'll never do that.
Yeah.
We're much too conservative of a company to ever do that. And then, a couple of years later, we were launching one of the biggest social media campaigns at the time in history, and showing like huge amounts of value for their work. So it's just, it quickly happened. It was like $2.5 million in value from that one campaign. And why? Because we were willing to take a chance with something that nobody knew how to do. Like nobody knew how to do it. But right now, by the way, lots of people know how to do Web3. So if you're listening to this and you've been in Web3 for a long time, it's been going on. I mean, this is not for you in a sense. It is, because we'd love to have your information.
I promise you, a year ago, I was irritated with my 11-year-old because she was always on Roblox. I did not understand it. This is what virtual world, like, why are you doing this? Go outside and play.
And Minecraft.
Yeah. Oh, and Minecraft.
Yeah.
And Fortnite and all of the things. And so as I came to really understand what she was doing and dig into this, I realized that this is her experience, her virtual experience. And these kids are digital native. They're natives in the Web3 space. But isn't that usually how it works? Is that the young people are pull into these new technologies and the things that are interesting and get it really quickly first. But you have to think about the fact that these young people are not going to be young people forever. They're just a few years away from being adults, being the people who make decisions, being the people who have influence over dollars. I use as an example my 14-year-old niece. She started in Roblox when she was maybe 11. She's in high school now. She'll be driving in 2 years. And she has spent her whole childhood in these virtual spaces, very comfortable with buying cryptocurrency in the form of Robux. If you even know any children, I'm sure you bought a Roblox card for children. That is virtual dollars. And what do they do with it? They go and buy skins, and they go and buy accessories for their avatar.
And somebody's creating those things and selling it to them in world.
And so how many millions of dollars are sitting around that? And so now there are lots of brands that are getting involved in these virtual worlds because they know that there's currency in them. There's real life dollars in them. And these kids are going to be 11, then they're going to be 14, they're going to be 21, then they're going to be 35. And it's going to happen quick. And because
very quick.
It's going to happen quickly because if you think about it, I also have a 28-year-old daughter who is a digital native in Web 2.
Yes.
And she works in social media right now. And so it was her entire life.
Right. And I mean, we have similar aged kids. And so I've got an 18-year-old that was a Web 2 digital native, and I've got 2 that are Web 3 digital natives, and they spend all of their time in exactly the same way that yours do. And they actually, because of COVID, they accelerated it in many ways because they created their entire social life in these worlds. Like all of the social life was in these worlds, like all of it. Especially for my youngest, who's just 13, all of his social life was in the worlds. And it still is. You know, they do multiplayer games and stuff like that. And they're on Discord, by the way, which is another social media platform that we don't think about very much. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the options here. I'm talking about a lot of things right now, but we do have a presentation around this, and I will ask I will ask Tori to kind of pull it up. So I want to show you, we're going to kind of backtrack and talk about Web 1, 2, and 3 real quick, because I told you this would be a primer. So let's talk about Web 1 first. I think that's the next slide. And basically Web 1, oh, that's both of us. There we go. Oh boy, I had a lot of those in the middle. Okay, great. How many of those did I put in there?
There you go.
Plenty,
Okay, Web
plenty.
1. I don't know. So Web 1 was read only. Could you talk about what Web 1 really means?
Yeah, so Web 1 was the beginning of what we kind of deem the internet. It was that read-only web where somebody put up a website and created some content, and you'd go on to Google and search for it, and then you'd read it, and that was it. We didn't have, if you weren't a professional in the space, you didn't have any autonomy over what was available. It was mostly reading the news or reading some random person's weblog or going and finding people's websites for their companies. And that was a time where I was in that world at the I'm aging myself.
Yeah.
Me too. I was in there at the time that I was in companies that were like, we don't need a website. What do we need that for? That's ridiculous.
At my first job, I implemented email.
So
I'm not
did
kidding.
Yeah.
All right, now we're
And so
now
that's
we're shutting up.
yeah,
Oh,
and so that was Web 1. There was, unless you were a professional in the space, you had no ability to control that environment.
And what was a PR person doing anyway, implementing email?
We did everything. We did everything back then.
So then Web 2. So that's up to about 99. And Web 2 was more interactive.
Yeah.
And so what happened in Web 2 is that all of a sudden, the people that were consuming the information can now create the information. So that's when social media came out, starting about 1999 till present. Different things like GeoCities and I don't know, AOL and things like that, instant messenger and those kinds of things were happening. And I felt like that was like an amazing time because we felt like, I mean, this is really what caught my imagination.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that I thought it was really amazing because it put the power of information and communication in the people's hands. It in a lot of ways. Yeah, exactly. It was the great equalizer of communication. And it was such a disruptor. It disrupted so many industries because there was a silo. There was an inability for so many people to get into industries, into the media, into art, into music. And Web 2 gave everybody the power to, if they created content, they could share it, and they had as much opportunity to get awareness around their content as anybody else in the world.
Yeah, it was really powerful. And so, of course, that's where we are now, truly. We're still in Web 2 and kind of bridging into Web 3. So Web 3, which is the next slide, is really all around Internet of Things. It's like all of these different devices. I mean, I laugh because we used to have, like 1 or 2 computers hooked up to our network at home. And the other day I looked at our network and it's like 17 devices connected. I'm like, 17 devices? Like what? I mean, the phones, the smart speakers, like we have a smart speaker in almost every room at this point. The television, all of the computers,
the cameras around your house.
The Ring camera. Yep. I mean, there's so many things, huh?
The tablets,
tablets, all of the things. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And TVs, and
everything.
Televisions. Everything is connected. And I want to be honest with you, my refrigerator actually is a smart refrigerator.
My washing machine's a smart washing machine.
Okay, so I mean, and of course, you've got people that are putting the things all through their house where you can turn things on when you're gone and back. And I haven't done all that yet, but the truth is that's there. And so we are there. And I realized it because it was just feeling like the network was moving a little too slow during COVID. I thought, well, maybe I should bump up, our bandwidth. So that's when I checked to see how many devices, because they said, there's a way to figure out how much bandwidth you need to buy. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's a calculator out there. I don't know. I wasn't planning to talk about that, but the bottom line is that we have so many things. And then we have what they call the semantic web that is just part of Web 3, which is really around language and the internet really just understanding you. So like your smart speaker, asking it questions and it knowing what you're saying and it understanding how to cater to your needs. Those kinds of things are amazing. And so, we have a Google Home, and we also had for a little bit, we had the other one, Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night I had these guys over, and they were visiting from another country, and coworkers of my husband. And we had just put those up and set them up. And we had the most hilarious time having them talk to each other. Oh no, we got them talking to each other. And we're like, hey, Alexa, what do you think about Google? And they would say, what they thought about it. I mean, I could say, hey, Google, what do you think about Alexa? I don't know if I'll do it right now. Sure. Us assistants try to stick together. Are you friends with her? So, I mean, yeah, no, I won't say it again. It's okay. So yeah, I mean, the world is starting to understand. I mean, the world of computers are starting to understand what we're saying, and it's scary too. So there's a lot of fear around this. I understand that too. But a lot of things are included, and we'll talk about what all those things are that you can be thinking about now in just a few slides. But I just want you to understand that that's what's happening. We're being overtaken by that. And then of course you have, the 5, what do you call it? Help. The Internet of Things is going to require more places for us to connect to cellular data. So that's coming up, and there's a name for that. My mind is blank. My old person stuff is happening right now. So anyway, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think that there's so many things that are happening right now, and the idea is that I think people have a lot of fear around the fact that it's disconnecting us, but I think that's up to us. We have the opportunity to use it to connect us. I feel like the thing that this really happened is the world, because of this Internet of Things, because of these pieces of web3 that are starting to come into place, we are even more connected than ever. I feel like I work much more frequently now because I have the ability to. It's easier.
Yeah, but there are drawbacks. Yeah.
I thought Web3 was around living in a virtual world.
Partially. No, it's more than that. We're going to go into it a bit. Yeah. So it is partially about that. So Web3, there's virtual world, there's blockchain, and which I'll talk about. We'll talk about this in a minute, which is basically, cryptocurrencies and things like that. And then there's Web3 is also, it's like coming away from the computer screen. So the blockchain is actually the backbone of that. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't build this without like some verifications and things like that. So there's some interesting things coming. I don't want to get into the technical weeds too much because it's going to freak people out. But the idea is that, and we're going to go into it in a minute. I'm going to give you some examples. But it's both virtual worlds, and it's also the currency, the way that it's the way that the internet is connected. Because right now it's like all these servers coming down to us, like Facebook and like Google, and all these places are like feeding us the information.
So what you're saying that is
data ownership.
Yeah, and Web3 is.
That's correct. That's a good way to put it. So it's the computer connecting with us. Grace just said that, and I think that's really a good way to say it. The computer is connecting with us. We were connecting with each other, and now the computer is going to connect with us, and it's going to learn and grow and change. And so we have a lot of things we have to put into place. So the drawbacks are here. And I'm going to have you talk about the drawbacks, but one of them is, governance, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's so if you break down, we were talking about this, and if you break down the challenges that we have with Web3, or the worries that we have with Web3, it really boils down to people who are behaving badly.
She needs her.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
You can make it small though.
And so we know about this from Web 2 because when in the beginning of Web 2, we were like, oh, everybody get online and everybody interact, and then we found all the ways that could go wrong. All of the bad actors who are finding different ways to make things difficult. I heard the most interesting story yesterday about what's happening with Twitter since the blue check change happened. There are people who have created accounts and are paying for their blue check and then impersonating real.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they did that to Elon mostly at first because they were mad at him.
Yeah. And so that's a perfect example of people behaving badly. And of course, and then we've heard the stories of people who feel like are feeling like they're being groped in the metaverse. Like that is crazy.
Mhm.
And so, but what we learned from Web 2 is that we understand that there are pros and cons. There are people who are going to behave badly, and there are drawbacks, and there are companies that are going to behave badly and have bad marketing practices and do things that are very black hat in those spaces. And that's going to happen. And we have to either accept it or pull out from it. And then I think the other thing is market forces. There are things that are changing. So things like the technology has not necessarily always caught up with the things that we're trying to accomplish. There are bandwidth issues, there are security issues, there are things that people are still trying to figure out. And that's going to take time. But that happened in Web 2 also.
We talked about this all the time, is that the governance couldn't keep up with the pace of change, and we still have that. The change happens faster than people can keep up with the governance of it. And by the way, you said we can just get rid of it, but we can't. That's the thing. We actually, at this point, the horse is out of the gate. You're not putting the horse back in. Sorry, it's the horse thing. Anyway, Tori's over here. She's a horse person. So I just feel like there's something happening here that we need to be very clear that we can't just put our head in the sand and pretend it's not happening.
Yeah, because it's going to be happening all around you, whether you're a part of it or not.
And we did it, and we've seen it. We know it's happened before; it'll happen again.
Exactly.
So, I'm going to actually bring this over to you. Yeah. Honestly, I think we need, because people are online, they can't hear you otherwise, and you're probably going to say something really brilliant.
Yeah, probably.
Because you always do.
Okay, thanks, Cami. This is Grace Rodriguez. So anyway, it's on. I talk softly, but carry a big stick.
Hold it. Hold it close.
Okay, so we just had our midterm elections, and it was the first. Somebody, I don't remember exactly which district, elected the first Gen Z person to Congress, which means that person is tech savvy, right? Or they grew up with Web 2. We don't have enough people who are tech savvy in Congress, which is one of the reasons why we're not seeing policy catching up with the technology, because they don't understand it.
They don't.
So we need people who are, savvy to actually go educate people in Congress or, in all of these seats of government for policy to catch up.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
True.
I love that what you're saying there, because in the end of the day, it's like you can be educated though, even if you're older. So I feel like that there's people that are like just blindly turning because they don't understand it. It feels alien. It feels uncomfortable, and it is uncomfortable and alien. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But you have to put yourself in there and at least test the water with it and figure out where it makes sense. Because if you can't even be against it unless you understand what it is. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And we may need to be against some of it.
Yeah.
But you can't do that unless you actually have an understanding of what that is. And as a communicator, like I am, or like if you are for your brand or for your companies or whoever you work with, you are the gatekeeper. Like we are the ombudsman, if you want to call that, of this thing. And so we have to be able to intelligently talk about it and make sure that the companies we work with don't behave badly. Well, have you thought about this? Or no, maybe that's not such a great idea. But you can't know that unless you have gotten the education there. Sorry, I'm being passionate.
No, true.
Sorry.
So let's keep going through kind of the challenges.
Yeah.
So, and we'll go through this really quickly. So I think the other issues are back one.
Back one. That's okay. She's doing so many things.
No worries. So I think there's a challenge of oversight because to Grace's point, there's not much legislation around there. There's not going to be any probably. There are humans building this stuff, and they're making decisions based on what they want. And really, this is again kind of the wild, wild west. We have to try things and break things in order to have any progress here. And so there are going to be things that are bad decisions that we're going to see in hindsight. But again, I don't know that some of these things would even be happening if there was too much oversight. So there's an issue with the idea of oversight. And like we talked about earlier, some of the technical roadblocks, I think one of the biggest technical roadblock is the fact that there's not a wide enough ability for people to understand this. And so there are not people from all walks of life in this space understanding things. I remember at the beginning of Web 2, there was
Diversity again, yes.
a question about
Yeah.
the digital divide. And even in the metaverse spaces, equipment is going to be a barrier because there's a cost associated with it. And so there'll be a group of people who are in this space and starting with technology, this part of technology, and there are people that are not going to have the ability to grasp it or understand it. And so there's going to be a disparity there moving forward. And then the last thing, and we've talked about this a little bit, is it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Ready Player One or any of some of these dystopian
Weird.
video, like movies, or read any of these books, but like if you think too hard about it, it sounds like it feels like there's a possibility that the world could change so dramatically that we won't recognize it. And so I think a lot of people have fear about even getting involved because that is weird. I cannot imagine myself in my living room with my socks on going like this. But you couldn't, like I said earlier, you couldn't imagine yourself doing TikTok dances 5 years ago.
No, like really.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have said that's nuts.
Yeah.
And so I do feel, and it is kind of nuts. But,
It is kind of.
still, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think it's also kind of fun, but it's nuts. But yeah, you can't have even known that was coming.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
can you even imagine? Like you couldn't even have imagined this would be the reality we live in.
Yeah,
Like when I was a kid, for sure not. I mean, I thought I was like really like cutting edge with my Walkman that played cassette tapes, like, and I can move away from my house for a minute.
Yeah, now
So-
if Alexa doesn't tell me what time it is, I can't go on with my day.
Yeah, I can't get in touch with anybody if
Yeah,
I don't have
yeah,
my digital,
Mhm, yeah.
I'm like, I know my husband's phone number, but that's luck, you
Yeah.
know. My kids, I don't know their phone numbers.
I didn't know how many steps I took 5 years ago.
And is a step really a step unless it's counted?
No, it's not.
That's what
No,
I
it's
want to know.
not.
I don't think it is. All right, we're moving on. Okay, cool. So that being said, we are going to talk a little bit now about whatever's next. What you need to do. So what is it that you can do to start getting involved in Web3 that is like a step-by-step process? So we're going to give you 3 steps, easy. Okay, 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 things you need to do. Number 1 is get educated. So I want you to participate in things like if you see a community or coming to this thing today, this is a great way to participate, to start to understand and get educated about what these things are. So we're going to go through some case studies in a minute and a bunch of stuff that's going to get you a little bit more educated today about what's possible for you as a communicator, as a business communicator. So anything else on education?
I think that there's an opportunity for everybody to spend time, like there's so much information out there right now. You should be reading everything you can get your hands on. I'm a big podcast fan. And so I've spent a lot of time in the last year getting plugged into all of the podcasters that are talking about the space and how growth is happening in there. And then of course there's opportunity to attend events and watch video and
join communities. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I did. So about 6 to 8 months ago, Mark Schaefer, who's a really well-known marketing author and a friend of mine, thank you, hi Mark, he started a Discord server for marketers. And he said, hey, some of my friends, he also started a coin called Rise Coin. And he goes, if you get 100 coins, you can join my server. Okay, so I just went and bought 100 coins and I went into the server, and I've spent the last 8 months learning this stuff. I mean, that's what so I'm not that far ahead of any of you. I just jumped in. I said, okay, I need to learn this. So I'm going to be a part of a community and I'm going to learn it. And I think the 100 coins were like, I don't know, they were cents on the dollar. It was like $25 or something.
I bought my first batch of coin about a year ago. My kid taught me how to use Discord.
Yeah.
And you taught me how to use Spatial.
I did.
Just one step at a time.
Yeah. So we'll show you Spatial in a minute. It's kind of interesting. So get educated by, doing that kind of thing. Next. So get a wallet.
Yes, that's what I did. I got a wallet. And so I think there are lots of opportunities. I think.
Can you tell them what a wallet is?
Oh, yeah. So it's where you keep and manage your digital money.
And it also is, again, it's like a driver's license.
Yeah.
It also proves who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's the best. So what I'm using right now is Coinbase, and that's how I started starting to learn how to buy digital currency. And so Ethereum, Bitcoin.
Well, Ethereum, and we'll talk a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk more about what Ethereum
There's also
is.
a green problem.
Yeah.
So like you've heard that too. Like it takes a lot of energy to like, mint this and mint that.
Google search.
Yeah, Google searches are also that way.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
anyway, so
Yeah,
there's some things around that, and there's so many things people talk about that are like all these buzzwords. Like they'll call it gas fee. Like, what's a gas fee? Well, it's basically, like when you buy something on your credit card and it's 3.9% to the you have to pay for as a business. That's the gas fee. They just change all the names and make it difficult. Yeah. It's a fee. But in the end of the day, you have a coin.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have a coin, and it doesn't. And I think that it can be daunting because you see the cost of these coins, and you don't understand how they move and change value. But I think that what's really interesting is that the way that people are using any of these coins is it varies. So I was listening to a story about a woman who travels globally and uses her Bitcoin and her
Ethereum
and her Ethereum, and she pays for everything that way. She cashes out, and that way she has a stable an amount of dollars while she's moving between countries. And so
and of course it's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and so I think that there's a lot of opportunity here. The other thing,
I was going to say, from my point of view, I use them to participate in communities and stuff. So I kind of almost look at it like, this is a technical in some ways way to look at it. When you get into into some sort of software and you're looking for an integration, that means a way to make other softwares work with the software you have. So I'll go into whatever it is and it'll say, you have to have this to participate. So I'll go get that thing. So I look at it more like an integration. I mean, so you can look at this so many different ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that this is why this is so interesting, because this is a perfect example of the juxtaposition between real life and digital life coming together.
Yeah. So smart. Anyway, okay. Next. Get involved.
I
think we already said that, right? So I don't want to go into that too much more, but you have your wallet, you have your education. Now you can start to invest and be smart about it. You're like, okay, I'm going to buy this. I bought the Rise coin because, Mark said, you can be in the community if you buy this Rise coin. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy the Rise coin. I didn't even care how much it was worth. I was just like, yeah, sure. I want to be a part of that community. Or you can decide you want to be a big investor, which then don't talk to me because I have no idea how to do that. But there are people that do. So if you're a part of that community, you can figure that out too. So I just feel like getting involved in the place that makes sense for you and what you do. And from a business perspective, we'll talk a little bit more about what you can do with that.
I think it's important to say that getting involved doesn't have to be huge.
It
could be small. It could be things like being here could be a way to get involved. But it could be if you have a small community or group, 5 or 6 people that you hang out with, go and join one, go into Spatial and create a group. And
I'm going to give you a link today so you can go into Spatial.
Yeah, or Decentraland, or heck, go into Roblox with your kids. Yeah. And that's the start of getting involved and really just understanding what this space looks like.
Yeah, I do think a lot of parents do that too. I mean, not everybody's a parent, so I'm going to just say that up front. Yeah, but if you are a parent and you've kind of been resisting, you think it's stupid.
You don't even have to be a parent to get in Roblox.
No, you don't. Yeah. Actually, a lot of people aren't. Just FYI. All right, cool. So next one. So the opportunities that you have are around these things. These are some I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to give you some case studies to show you some of these. So I'm not just going to talk about them like a list, but I'm going to give you the list first, and then we're going to talk about each case study, okay? So branded or tokenized community building, which is what I told you about Rise, that community I was in or am in. NFT access passes. We're going to talk about that. So cool. NFTs can be done as art, which is amazing. And I know a lot of people are selling them for ridiculous amounts of money, but they can also be used as access passes. And I think for businesses, that could be really interesting. Co-creation of these kinds of NFTs. OpenSea is a really cool online program, I guess you could call it software, where you can where you can upload your NFTs and sell them from there without having to spend a lot of money up front. Virtual world experiences, which we're going to talk about Spatial today, and a little bit about Second Life, which was one of the first virtual worlds in 2007, guys. This is not new. Like, first of all, this is not new, but I'll talk to you about that. And then e-commerce is huge with this because you can sell things and buy things in world. And I think a lot of people have made fortunes and really fortunes over their lifetimes by doing that. In Second Life, there's people that they're retired on Second Life money that they made in world, truly. There was a guy, and I'll turn you on to a Wall Street Journal podcast. There's 4 episodes. And by the way, at the end of this, just so you know, I've taken all the notes for you. So at the end of this, there's going to be a cool little QR code that you can scan, and you can download all of the notes, all of the links, everything I'm talking about today in a Google Doc. And you don't have to even put your email in. You don't have to give me your email. You just download it. It's yours. So that's how it goes. So the virtual worlds and e-commerce. And then, of course, the use of new tools. So like AI writing, I know you've heard about that, like AI is starting to write everything and make videos, and oh my gosh, AI is taking over everywhere. So, but the question is, how can you use that? Even if you are like a camera operator, for example, hi Winter, you can know how to use this technology to beef up what you do in what you offer to your clients. I think to fight against it, like as a writer or whatever, as a writer, you can also bring value because you can say, hey, that AI writing tool, you need to make sure it's not plagiarizing. And here, I'll make sure that doesn't happen for you, and I'll work it through. So I think we need to be open-minded to how we do things. Artwork is another one. There's some really cool stuff out there, like Midjourney is one that you can create artwork online with just words. And then it makes words. And it won a contest in Colorado a couple of months ago. It won an art contest in Colorado, and people were very upset about it because it's like, you didn't do that artwork. But he goes, no, I did, because you have to shape the words the way that they need to be shaped to get exactly what you need to get out of the AI. So, I mean, it was digital art, and he won a contest. So we are in a different era of this kind of creation too. So anyway, new tools. Yes.
Can I help everybody understand also?
If you bring this up to you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Web3 is just thinking of, to make it clear, because it can be really overwhelming
It is.
hearing all
It
of
is.
these different
It is.
options. The analog for Web2 is you have Facebook and Twitter, you have video, you have audio, you have print, like all of these different types of opportunities to get involved in Web2. So these are all of these different types of options again in Web3. So take a deep breath. Yes. It's really not that complicated once you start to get immersed in it and you understand all of the roles that these different opportunities that Cammie's talking about will play in the Web3 universe.
Thank you for saying that. So you don't have to do all these things.
Yeah.
At all. It's just understanding that they exist, I think, is really important for communicators, especially because we are tasked to create the content and create the things that people and businesses use. And so we have to understand how that's going to fundamentally change what we do. And if we are writers and we are, graphic designers and we are artists and we are all those things, which I know many of you are, there's a fear around this that the machines are going to take over. And they are to a certain degree. But on the other hand, somebody needs to shape that and shape it properly and make sure that things are being handled the way that they need to be handled, and understanding the strategy and understanding how to marshal those resources. So how do we do that without throwing out the baby with the bathwater? I guess is the best way I can say that. So it's going to be a little bit challenging for you as a communicator in the next 5 to 10 years. There's going to be a lot of challenge around this. And the ones that I think, we were talking about ADHD before we started. If you fight against that, you're going to have a lot more problems unless you look and say, this is the way it works. And how am I going to shape that to be what I want it to be?
And if you think about it from the perspective of Web2 that we all know and understand, there was a time where everybody thought that they needed to be everywhere. You needed to be on Twitter. You needed to be on Instagram. You needed to be on Facebook. You needed to be on YouTube. You need to be, and eventually we matured and realized that we needed to be in the places where our people were. And that's what we'll get to. But understanding it all in the beginning is important. I understand what Facebook is. I don't need to be there in order to talk to the people that I'm marketing to.
Yeah. So there's a fire hose at first. It feels fire hose like.
Yes.
So, all right, next slide. we're going to talk about some interesting stuff now.
Aw.
So I just want to go all the way back to 2007, and I was sitting in my
Good
open
times.
air office in my house in San Antonio, because I was living
Yeah,
in San
yeah.
Antonio at the time, and I heard about this thing called Second Life. And it's a client. You have to download it onto your computer. By the way, it still exists,
Mhm.
shockingly enough.
My kid
So,
still uses it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's beautiful in there. There's some really great opportunities in there. But anyway, so we went. Second Life was born in about that time frame. They started a little earlier than that, but that's kind of when things started to mainstream out, and they opened it up for anybody to join for free, just like all the stuff now. And so yeah, I downloaded that client or that software onto my computer, and I opened it up, and I ended up in this room where I had to make my avatar. So I made my avatar, I dressed her up, I put her into the world. And I started walking around and going, what do I do now? Next slide. So yeah, this is her. So these are pictures of me in Second Life in 2007. And so I took screenshots of it. And the one that says communications behind it was actually a lot of communicators started to come into Second Life. And I thought, this is great. And some of them were doing amazing things. This one was a podcast that was actually being recorded in Second Life. So you'd meet in Second Life and record the podcast, and it went out. So I was a guest on this podcast, and I went in and I was interviewed in Second Life. And it might have been some of the reason I got in at first, because somebody asked me if I do that. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll try this. And so I came in. Next slide. And you can't really read this necessarily, but this is an actual news coverage about Second Life. So Second Life was huge at that time. Lots of people were starting to wonder, and like huge businesses were starting to build things in Second Life. And so I thought, we need to have a business communicators meetup in Second Life. And so I did exactly what I did with Jennifer, and I gathered a few people together, and we started meeting monthly, just like we do at Houston Social Media Breakfast, but globally in Second Life. So I did that for about a year. We had meetups in Second Life for an entire year. So you'd come in, and people would be from Japan, and they'd be from all over the world in Second Life, and we'd be having these kind of discussions in Second Life. And so it's not new. I mean, it was built on a Web 2 world, in the sense that everything was crashing all the time and glitchy. I guess is the best way to say it. And Web 3, by the way, is not really 100% here yet either. So things are still a little glitchy and weird, but things are rapidly changing. So just FYI. So next slide. So anyway, that was Second Life. Did you participate in Second Life?
I did. When I was working at the hospital,
Oh,
we were
yes.
exploring Second Life for our patients.
Yeah, talk a little louder.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
You're gonna have to be a little louder.
Yeah. So I was among the people who was working in corporate world, exploring Second Life for public purposes. And so I was working for a cancer hospital that was exploring, we were doing all kinds of things around trying to find opportunities for patient engagement. And specifically, that patient population is all over the world, and maybe comes to one hospital for treatment, and then they expand out over the world. And so we were looking at building spaces for our patients to communicate with each other in Second Life.
Yeah. So, I mean, companies have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And actually, at that time, too, you guys were doing a lot of innovative things around audio problem. Yeah, it's probably her hair. Yeah. Or my hair?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. I had to just flip my hair back. So there was a lot of issues around, not issues, I'm sorry. Trying to get back to where I was saying. I think one of the things that amazed me at the time is I came to attend something that you were putting on at that time, or that one of the doctors was, where they would, put the inside of your body, like projected onto the outside of your skin. So they figured out what was inside of your body, and then they projected it onto the inside of your skin, and then they do operations like that. And it made your body look invisible. So they could go in there, they could do very low impact kind of surgeries.
Yeah.
So there was some really innovative stuff going on at that time in 2009-ish. That was so I feel like we're just kind of catching up with what already is. Does that make sense?
For optimizing.
Yeah.
Optimizing it, and also getting new really a lot of new insights into, and also the technology just getting better so that you can do these things like the average person can do them, not just some big hospital system or something. So not operating, please don't operate on people. I'm sorry. I'm just going to put that out there. I put that disclaimer in, please don't do that. So anyway, so that was really interesting. And so, and I know we already switched to the next slide, but that really, I think, was a really powerful thing that was happening. And I didn't know you went into Second Life for that. So that's something I didn't know.
We were
So that's
doing
cool.
all kinds of, you're trying everything. You have to try everything as a marketer.
Cool. All right. So another idea that I think is really great that I saw in the last year was this conference called CEX that was just born. Last year was the first year of CEX, and the company that built it is Joe Paluzzi, The Tilt. And they, to raise money, because you know how expensive it is to put on a big conference, especially for the first time when you're not sure if anybody's going to show up. Hello, social media. Come on, guys. Come on out. When you're not sure anybody's going to show up is you need cash flow, right? And so what he did, which I thought was really great idea, was he minted a NFT. They call it minting when you make one. Okay, so minting is making one. So he made an NFT that then belongs to you. So like we were talking a little bit about and you don't need to know about blockchain, but the blockchain is a way to know. It's called immutable, meaning that it stays there forever. So like that NFT was connected to that blockchain, and so you now own that. And so what that meant for him was that you could come to that conference for free for as long as he puts it on forever. And you can sell that ticket to somebody else if you want to. So it's like transferable, unlike most things. And so I think it was such a great idea because then he created an instant community around that conference. People that own that thing, and they're like, I own it, you own it, nod, nod. And they have a little bit of a VIP kind of situation. He has a special meeting for them during the actual event. And he's come back later and talked about how very successful it has been. Because not only do you gain, good money at that moment that you need it, because the actual cost of the NFT was more than the conference. Like if you just went, it would cost less than if you bought the NFT. But if you'd gone twice to the conference, you paid for that NFT. So I think that's a great plan for a lot of brands to think about, or especially like an event or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
There may be other ways you could think about putting that into your own business, or kind of thinking about what ways can you give people access and create an instant community around that access. Very cool. All right, next one. Oop, we're stuck. Okay, there we go. So we were talking a little bit, and this is going to be your big moment. Tori, can you get it open? No, not here, but yeah, there. So while I talk about it, you get that open, and then we'll show it to them. So another way to do this, well, Second Life is still there, of course, but right now there's a little bit of energy around this tool called Spatial. And Spatial, and Tori will give you, after she pulls this up, I'm going to give her a minute, but we'll give you a link to the space that she's going to show you here in a minute. But Spatial is an amazing place where a lot of different business people are starting to meet. You can go build your own little space there for free. So you can go there and you join, you create your avatar, and they give you a house. It's so cute. And the graphic for this, the home 3 Sweet Home is my house in Spatial. So that's what that is. And so you can decorate it any way you want. They give you like plants, and you can do all this stuff, right? Very fun. But you can also create meeting spaces. So one of the things that I have been looking at and working on is meeting spaces. And so I told you I was part of the Rise community. And one of the things that he decided to do, or the group decided to do, a couple of people in the group took it on, Yuri and Frank, and they decided to do that meetup like I did in Second Life for years, and they're doing it monthly now. So by the way, if you are a marketer and you want to be a part of that, let me know. I can get you an invite to the community. It's very doable. But we're meeting there, and we're giving presentations in Spatial. And so yesterday I gave a presentation. There was 3 of us that gave a presentation in Spatial, and I used this presentation yesterday as well. So, it's pretty cool that we can do that. And there was people from all over the world, Australia and, Belgium and Canada and US and all over the world. And we were all in there yesterday, just sharing information like this. And we did it in the world. And so in a minute, if we can get to it, she's going to actually share her screen and show you what being in world looks like. And I actually am going to share with you the space that I decorated or put together for my presentation. So we each decorated our own space for our presentations. So the one you see here has dogs in it. I think, no, this is the cats one. So I think this is Anna. So Anna had cats, and, Valentina had dogs. I think it was like that. And so, we all had different ways of decorating our space. We had the same space, but we decorated it all different. And then we gave presentations. So you can see how you can move around in this world. So you see on the wall, you can see that the presentation's on the wall right there. And I made it a movie. So now we're going to share with you this link to this room. So if you join Spatial, you can grab this. You can go in and see this yourself. And I made that a movie, so you can just play it. So you just start it, and it'll actually give you the presentation right there, although it didn't have a voiceover. So that's another thing. I could go back and replace it with a voiceover of the actual presentation so that people can see the presentation anytime. So I know you go.
You have to run out, but I actually have used this.
Spatial?
I don't know.
Oh, another one.
Spatial, but we did a whole conference. I'm an Agilist, and we did a whole Agile conference. Hi, Grace. Yeah, a few months ago. So I totally know it works. It's awesome.
Awesome. All right, cool. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. She's got to go. But it's nice to meet you. Bye. So yeah, this is kind of what you see. You can kind of see how she can just move around. You just like click on the floor in front of you. So if you're in world, you just click on the floor in front of you and you walk to it. And she's doing this from her desktop computer. Well, actually, she's doing this from her iPad. You can do it on your desktop computer with your mouse. You can do that. And you can also, and I have it over here. Do you mind handing me the Oculus real quick? You can also go into this world with an Oculus. Here was the funny thing about yesterday. A bunch of us did bring our Oculuses, and we were going to do it that way. But I found that I felt more comfortable running it from my computer. In the end of the day. So I do have it, and it's really cool. What's nice I think if I was attending, I might have stayed in my Oculus, but since I was presenting, I felt like I needed more control, and it's probably just, I don't know how to do it yet. It's just probably I need to spend some time with it and feel more comfortable. But this is really cool. So you don't have to have this though. So I think it's a little equalizing that in worlds like this, that they're giving you opportunities to do it in a bunch of different ways. You can do it from your phone, from your iPad, from your desktop, or from the Oculus, right? So I think it's really powerful to be able to have those opportunities. So yeah, that's it for that. By the way, afterwards, if you want to stay, I know a lot of you have to run, but I'm going to actually pull the world up here on the screen, and you can wear my Oculus and see what it's like to be in the world. So if you're here in person, I'll let you kind of walk around in the world. We'll just draw a little boundary here, and you can walk around in the world. Cool. And it feels really good. It feels very good to be walking around in that world. You feel like you're there. You feel really, it's cool. All right, so the next slide. So another one is called OpenSea. You know about OpenSea. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so
I feel like I'm droning.
Yeah, no, it's really OpenSea is a really simple concept. Think about it as Amazon for NFTs. It is the place where you go, and if you've created an NFT, you upload it, and it's a marketplace. So you can go and search through. It's segmented by type of NFT. So everything from pieces of art to skins or even real estate that you can buy within OpenSea. And it's pretty easy to upload an NFT, and then that automatically attaches it to the blockchain, and so then it's for sale and it's for trade. But it's really that simple of a concept.
Right. So if you wanted to do that thing I talked about that Joe Paluzzi did, you could do it on OpenSea. What's cool about that is you don't actually pay any money or any fees until you actually sell the art. There's some places you can do NFTs and they charge you ahead of time, and it just costs like $25, $30 or more to do it. But in this case, yeah. And so they'll tell you, you have to use some crypto. You have to have a wallet, but it tells you which ones you have to have. Coinbase is one, MetaMask is the other one. Those two are really the ones we say, most of them are hooked to one of those two. So they're like having driver's licenses, or a passport to a new world, I guess. All right, next. So just to give you an idea, last year at the Super Bowl, Coinbase actually did a Super Bowl commercial, which was just this little green square like bouncing around everywhere, which I know you saw. And that actually crashed their servers. I'm not kidding. So many people went there to buy this thing or to get into their option here. So I think to get into their wallet, excuse me, that's a wallet. And they were having like thousands of people per minute or something like that downloading the Coinbase wallet. So because of that, I think it's made Coinbase the most popular wallet, I guess, the one that most people have. And the other reason why is because you can buy a bunch of different kinds of currencies on the Coinbase wallet. Some wallets are only for a specific kind of currency, like Ethereum, or like MetaMask is like, I think it's Ethereum only. But for example, in Spatial, I can connect to MetaMask. So if I want to buy things in Spatial, which I, by the way, haven't connected a wallet there yet. So that tells you I just haven't. I haven't needed to quite yet. But I've looked at the integrations, and that's what they take. So if I ever want to start paying for my space there and do more things, that's how I do it. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. And I you don't know so much about it, but it's a healthcare example as well. So United Healthcare really has created a coin that they're now allowing their members to use if they do certain things like walk their steps. So if they hook up their step walker, or they have it all set up so that it's like, I think up to $200 worth of stuff that you can do. So they're giving money back to healthcare to try to get good outcomes. So I work in hospital stuff too. So hospital PR is kind of a thing that our company does. And one of the things that we're looking for is to lower recidivism, or to lower people being sick again, or whatever, if you, and so how do you do that? You get them to make healthy choices. And how do you get them to make healthy choices? Well, I mean, reward them and incentives, but also a community. Like more people than just them are doing this, and it's all hooked up to the blockchain, and they have a coin. I think that's really cool. They call it a rally coin, which I think is funny because there is a thing called rally, but this is not that. This is their rally coin. So I just think it's really powerful to use a coin like that, to use it as a reward system. And I know Mark in our Rise community was using the coins that way too. And we started using them to help each other out too. Like if somebody did something nice for you, you'd send them 10 Rise coins. And it just feels, I don't know, like a reciprocal community without being like, I'm paying them off to do this. Again, people can use this for really bad intents. So I could see how people could use it to scam people, or to have lots of people to put stuff out. Again, there's so many ways this could be used in a bad way. But hasn't that been the story of all technology?
Yeah.
All tech.
I think
Just
I think we take the lessons from Web 2 that we finally got to. If you think about the beginning of Web 2, a lot of what was happening relied on your phone. And so the ability and access to phones and internet changed over that period of time. So there was a period of time where you had to be very wealthy to have internet, had to be very wealthy to have one of these phone, a device. And so as we move forward, things have gotten more affordable. We have provided more access. We have provided more education in schools. It took a long time though. And it had to be a concerted effort. And then I think
still is. I think, I mean, Apple still gives devices
and then
to schools.
What we saw during COVID was another shift, because there were a lot of people who were trying to homeschool their students and didn't have access to devices and didn't
Yeah,
have
that's huge.
access to internet. So there was still a divide there.
Mhm.
And so a lot of that got picked up because of the circumstances that we were all in. So lots of other people got devices, and then lots of cities improved their internet. And that's still, I think we're still building and growing on that. And so yeah, now we're here in another place where there's another high barrier to entry. What we can do, I think, is focus on educating students a lot sooner and giving our students the ability to participate in these environments, even if they feel foreign or uncomfortable to us. So I think that the divide tends to happen when the parents aren't educated,
Yeah.
they don't understand things. When the teachers aren't educated, when they don't understand what this shift is, and when the community or the government in the region doesn't understand things. So making that effort to educate those groups of people so that there's not those barriers to entry for the people that are coming up and trying to build in that space.
And
I
that's
think is
also a
important.
business opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a business opportunity there to bring this kind of education into schools, to bring this kind of education into governments, to bring this kind of education into businesses all over the place. You know, there's all kinds of education opportunities right now around that. What? Again, okay, I need to actually.
In addition to education,
Sorry,
though,
thank you.
we need to make sure that these groups are collaborating, working together.
Yeah.
Only
So,
business organizations-
could you wait for a second? Because, I want to make
This
sure
is
we
the
don't leave the
discussion,
people
yeah.
behind online.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything you asked? Okay.
Okay. No, in addition to education, like you were saying, Jennifer, but I think that there still needs to be a way for organizations to collaborate together. And that's a huge barrier right there.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
government organizations and private businesses are not as willing, it seems, to work
Mhm,
together
mhm.
oftentimes. And so in addition, I mean, aside from the cost and educating, like how many people can really, who are in underserved communities really afford an Oculus headset,
yeah.
right?
They can't,
Yeah,
but they can have them in the schools,
True.
and they can actually work
But they
on
have
that.
to-
And we've got
they
to
have to
fund
de-
that.
They have to deem it important. The schools are going to have to deem it important, and that takes a
have
long
it
time.
funded.
Yeah, yeah.
Because some schools can't fund it without help from programs. I mean, that we're sitting here in the Impact Hub, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
a huge way.
Yeah.
This is a cool way, an innovation hub. That's why we're meeting at Impact Hub, by the way, is because this is an innovation hub. This is a place for us to make a difference with technology and also with what we do. And so one of the things, and innovation is going to be our theme this year.
Yeah.
So our theme for Social Media Breakfast this year is innovation. And there's opportunities there to do this. And there's a lot of people already there doing it. I get it. But in the end of the day, think about Apple. They gave who knows, millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment to schools. But there is a hidden point to that, because every kid now says, I need an iPhone rather than I want an Android. By the way, a huge contention in my household, but because I'm an Android person anyway. But it is. They're like, I need that because they are used to using an iPhone or an iPad. So it's in the best interest of companies to provide these tools.
Well, and part of what Impact Hub Houston does is support these purpose-driven entrepreneurs too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shout out to Impact Hub.
Shout out to Impact Hub. And
Yes.
honestly, if you're here in Houston and you're doing anything in your work that drives impact through one of the 17, what is it called?
Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes, Sustainable Development Goals. I don't have that link for you right now, but just you can Google.
UN SDGs.
There you go. UN SDGs. If you're doing any of those things, you should be a member of Impact Hub. It doesn't cost hardly anything, and you should be here because we need to make sure that this is actually happening in this city and across the
Yeah.
nation. So
Thank
anyway,
you so much. I appreciate the support. But I do want to say, if you or somebody you know is having a challenge getting internet access, look up the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP. And the government is actually providing funding for you to be able to afford broadband internet access. And if you need the kind of tools or mobile hotspots, maybe let us know, because between us and CompuDopt, we could provide access to you, or the local library. We have access to TechSoup. Nonprofits have access to TechSoup. So also if you're involved in a nonprofit organization, look up TechSoup, and they provide mobile hotspots that are heavily subsidized, like maybe $5 or $10 or free. But that would be another way of bringing mobile, bringing internet access to your community or to your home.
awesome.
That's
oh,
great.
good job. See, look at go you. Anyway, so yeah, there it is. It's on the screen for you, for those of you who are in our listening audience. So there's so many things, guys. There's so many things that we need to be sharing together so that we can make this happen for everyone, because it's all about knowledge, right? In the end of the day, it's about the knowledge, and honestly, knowledge is free. So, I mean, that's why we do social media breakfast. That's why it's a free thing. That's why I also stream it to you out there, because I know not everybody can be downtown Houston at the second Friday of every month. I get that. That's why we stream it. That's why I'm putting a lot of money into like better production values, and we're getting there. We're working on it hard, but we're doing that because I want you to have the access that you need. Okay, so I want you to have access to great information for that's free. It's not about selling you anything. It's not about doing anything. It's about free information that's going to move all of us forward as a nation, and also as the world. So I know some of you are listening from all over the world, which is great.
That's amazing.
So hi, Nick, for sure. Yeah, okay, my hair. You know what, guys? I'm gonna have to like do a braid or something like that next time. It likes to move forward. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions in the room or thoughts? This has been great.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, I love this conversation.
Okay.
So we're gonna let you go out out there in the live stream. We're gonna stay here for those of you who want and try the Oculus. So that may be a way for you to actually get that experience without having to buy an Oculus. That's why I brought it today. So yeah, so we'll talk to you soon and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.